Hi everyone, today we'll be discussing about cocculus indicus and its neuromotion imbalance. What exactly do you understand by cocculus indicus? It's a remedy which majorly affects the how can you think that it can affect into a spasmodic as well as the paretic effects? So there is a need for a sequence to understand. Spasmodic is the initial stages and the paretic is the later stages. Both do not coexist. So it majorly affects the cerebrum. Although most of the motion linked neurological exhaustion is considered to be a cerebellar issues, which has a balancing complaints, issues related to balance. But here it is a very clear guideline that it is a cerebral issue, and that too because of the overstimulation. So this is the key that we need to start with. Cocculus, cerebral issues, then O stands for overstimulation of the neurological sensory organs. So there is a fatigue and exhaustion that ensues post overstimulation. So it becomes a very day-to-day remedy. But when you go through a Kent's repertory, you will find that it is present in the generalities, weakness, eating after. So what is happening here? If a patient is getting fatigued or tired after eating, what does that exactly means? We'll be discussing this in the later part of it. Okay. So currently the understanding of cocculus indicus as a remedy for motion linked neurological exhaustion, vertigo, nausea, and sensory overload through biochemical, hormonal, and clinical lenses. That's how we'll be describing it. Now, progression of a cocculus disease state. Cocculus typifies a patient moving from early neurological strain to full motion intolerance, with fatigue, vertigo, and sensory overload marking each advancing stage. Now, I have a case of a diabetic patient, a female, who is almost near the menopause also. So now, when she complains that whenever she gets down from a car, she still feels that she is trembling or moving inside. Such is the extent of motion sickness on her. So, understand what is early neural irritation. Initial exposure to motion, irregular sleep, or mental strain triggers subtle disequilibrium, mild giddiness, and transient nausea without yet producing a full blown vertigo or collapse. Always remember whenever you find nausea in the patient due to physical factors, emotional factors, but not the gastric factors, it is 99% related to the potassium cycle of the body. Okay. So next we go to the sensory overload. Crowd, travel, or rapid visual stimuli overexcite the CNS, leading to queasiness, head heaviness, and heightened sensitivity to movement or noise. Now, what is happening is there's a dampening of the cerebral issues, but there is an overstimulation of the cerebellar. The sensitivity to movement and noise basically is the part of the cerebellar functioning. So motion sickness, so it is an overriding of the cerebral state of the person by the cerebellum. Motion sickness phase. Travel by car, boat, or train provokes marked nausea, vertigo, and weakness, especially when watching moving objects, and reading while in motion. Now, there is a CNS exhaustion that further goes on. Sustained overstimulation produces central fatigue, muscular weakness, tremulousness, tremulousness, and a drained, sleepless feeling after caring, watching, or night walk. Finally, it can lead to a functional collapse where the patient is unable to stand, walk, or travel without aggravation. Vertigo, nausea, and anxiety dominate, and profound intolerance to further motion or exertion. Let's go what the biochemistry says. So, according to the mineral physiology behind the cochless weakness is the low potassium. As I said, the nausea itself describes the low potassium. So, the cochless picture explains the neuromuscular fatigue, tremors, and poor nerve conduction, and striking aggravation from motion and exertion. So, now what happens is, what is conduction of the nerves? It is the depolarization and polarization. Now, depolarization is done through the change in the action potential, through the movement of the sodium potassium pump. So, for every 3 potassium, 2 sodium goes inside. So, over the period of time, the potassium inside the neurons reduces, and which causes a neuromuscular fatigue. So, low potassium correlates with the rapid neuromuscular fatigue, heaviness in the limbs, and inability to sustain standing or walking without marked exhaustion. So, such people will say that whenever they hold the phone for longer duration while talking, they can't straighten their elbow. They feel as if it is stiff while straightening their elbow. So, magnesium depletion also favors the tremors, nocturnal cramps, and twitching, amplifying the shaky, unsteady sensation typical of cochless patient. Sodium remaining within the normal range preserves the basic water balance, so symptoms reflect functional and neurology more than the overt fluid derangement. So you are starting to understand that the sodium is connected with the fluid management of the body. Now, low to normal calcium impairs the synaptic efficiency and the nerve conduction, reinforcing the delayed responses, clumsiness, and the poor adaptability for moving environment. Combined mineral imbalance predisposes a rapid central exhaustion whenever the patient confronts the travel, noise, bright light, or cognitive overuse. Now, neurotransmitter imprints of the cochless indicus. Cochless reflects a triad of low dopamine, low serotonin, and low acetylcholine, translating into nausea on motion, heightened motion sensitivity, anxiety, anxious fatigue, sluggish vestibular, digestive integration with vertigo and queasiness. Suits to the patient whose brain cannot synchronize motion, balance, and the digestion, leading to nausea and vertigo from the even minor movements. This is an advanced stage. Generally, patients do not appear at this stage. So, most of it is being used as a preventive for the motion sickness, and only 2 doses is enough for that prevention method. A hormonal stress pattern in the motion intolerance. Moderately elevated cortisols indicates a chronic stress reaction to travel and sensory bombardment, while low to normal thyroid and slightly reduced sex hormones underpin the ongoing fatigue. Low resilience, irritability, and difficulty recovering after journeys or disturbed sleep. Biochemical correlates of the cochless. Potassium is low, magnesium is low, dopamine is low, serotonin is low, cortisol is mid-high, and uric acid handling is the stage 2 retention, where the headache, fatigue, mild joint heaviness after motion starts. Impact of motion on the symptom intensity. Illustrative data showing how increasing motion exposure worsens the nausea, vertigo, and fatigue. From motion exposure to uric acid retention, cochless patient often shows a progression from acute motion exposure to systemic fatigue and subclinical uric acid retention, culminating in headaches and joint heaviness after journeys and long strain. The timely calculus may interrupt the progression to the uric acid retention. Systemic load, rising metabolic burden mirrors worsening fatigue and head heaviness. So let me explain it in another form also. Whenever there is an extra utilization of nervous system to keep oneself alert, the negative potential of chloride in the nervous system, which helps in GABA neuron, GABA functioning, which is like inhibitory functioning, that gets weakened. Chloride channels are important for the GABA functioning. You have to understand what is GABA functioning. GABA is the acetylcholine is the excitatory neurotransmitter, whereas GABA is the retarding neurotransmitter. It is an inhibitor. So the balance between the acetylcholine and GABA creates a natural walking movement and any kind of movement that we do. Now, what happens is due to excessive GABA, there is a slowness in every action. And chloride channels are overly utilized. Now connect it to the digestive system where HCl is the digestive juice, hydrochloric acid, and it has got the Cl, the chloride part. So when most of the chloride is consumed in keeping the GABA activated, the digestive juices reduces. So after every nervous fatigue, the patient will say that after eating, he feels worse. He feels fatigued, tired. This is what I want to explain in the initial stage also. But now I think you can better connect. So let's go ahead. Key symptom constellation for Cochless. The hallmark picture includes the nausea and vertigo, worse from any motion, profound weakness from tremors, anxiety or fear of travel and crowd, clear aggravation in the morning, or when the sensory overload and sleep loss. Now integrating Cochless into the practice. Thank you for exploring the motion sensitive, neurologically exhausted Cochless profile and its biochemical imprints. Thank you all. There are 2-3 key factors that I have explained here, the biochemistry as well as the neurological things. One is the GABA that has been explained, and another is the chloride channels. You can go and read more about it. Thank you very much.